hey.
Hi, hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. It's been a good weekend so far. I'm looking forward to today. Should be a beautiful day.
Yeah, it's going to be a beautiful day today. I'm going on a boat today. I'm super excited about that on Lake Michigan.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We were on the lake yesterday at the beach, and it's just fun to kind of see all those boats like going by. It's like, yeah, it'd be so much fun to be on the water.
That's going to be me waving at the people on the shore. Yeah, so we're packing up a bunch of stuff. So we're going with family. It's Frank's whole family. His nephew Anthony has a boat. So his sister Karen's bringing fruit and drinks, and she said subs with meat. So she wanted to make sure we knew, like they're picking up subs. So yeah, I'm just gonna pack up some, I don't know, maybe tofu sandwiches. I love that smoked tofu with mustard and then pickles and just a bunch of stuff. So I'll make sandwiches. Frank's gonna make his tofu salad. So the tofu salad with the noodles.
Yeah.
He makes the noodles and cucumbers. It's really good.
It's like Frank's salad.
Yeah, it is Frank's signature salad. Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds great.
And then tomorrow we have our chairs already put out for the big parade. Evanston does a big 4th of July parade. And
oh yeah, you can go and like put chairs out and like put a rope around them or something, or you just set up some chairs.
I put blankets and chairs. I know when I first moved here, I thought, how are we just leaving our chairs here for 3 days? They're going to get stolen. Oh, you should look down Central Street. It's loaded with chairs. And yeah, people tie off sections and blankets. And yeah, so I put my chairs out. Nobody takes anything. There's thousands of chairs out there. I think my 2 little beach chairs are safe.
I'm not a big parade guy. I mean, I don't mind them, but I don't typically go out of my way to. I don't love a parade.
Yeah.
Let me just say.
Parades are usually hot. You're like roasting in the sun. Oh my God.
It's more like, yeah, I like a parade.
I don't love a parade. I like a parade. Today, we thought we would talk about going to the grocery store because there's a lot of things that you can think about when you're at the grocery store that you may not realize. Certain products to buy, what aisles to shop in. And Phil and I actually, before we even got the website up and running, we decided on doing a whole video at the grocery store. So we thought, hey, we'll film ourselves. We'll go in and we'll pick up the products, plant-based products. I'll talk about each aisle of the grocery store. And then it was like right when COVID hit. And first of all, we had called all these grocery stores asking if we could do that. We thought, oh, we better ask, before maybe they'll let us in early. And it was like, no. Everybody said no to us. We were like, why? We're just going to do like this cute little, okay. But we decided to do it anyway. But not any big deal. Like, of course, no big cameras. We just thought, hey, we could just use our cell phones and just make it very subtle. Well, then it was COVID and we had to wear masks. So you couldn't see my lips. Phil was filming. I had a mask on. We actually did it. Remember, we went through the whole store and I thought, okay, so I'll just pick up each product. You'll film it. And then I'll go back and do a whole voiceover. And talk about each thing like I would have done in person. It just didn't work out. It wasn't great. Most of it is my back walking around the store. And then it was just, we never did it. I mean, we did it, but we never edited it. Anyway, so we thought today we would describe it just so you'd have some information.
And this is something, I mean, everyone has to go to the grocery store. I mean, no matter if you're listening to this, I'm sure you've been to the grocery store. You probably have to still go to the grocery store. I mean, everyone has to go. So, I mean, this is just something everyone has to deal with, no matter where you are. If you cook, you have to shop, you have to get groceries somewhere. So,
right, exactly. And we do a lot of cooking when we eat this way. So we have to shop. And I like to shop at farmers markets. You probably heard me talk about this before. I just love it. We love going. Frank and I love going because it's like a social event. I mean, it's like we know all the farmers now. We've been going for years. It's just so much fun. We just hit every stand. We get our mushrooms in one place. We get our veggies from Henry's farm. We get our tofu there. And we have a lot of friends there that we just see and catch up with. We'll sit and eat breakfast there. So we make it an event. Frank likes to socialize a lot more than I do. I'm like 1 hour and I'm good. I'm out. But he likes to sit around and chit chat with everybody. So sometimes we take separate cars because then I just want to get on with my day. And he's like, he likes to stay and chat. So, but I like to get the majority of my produce there. Less hands touch your food, less resources are used because it's local. So most of ours comes from Michigan, 3-4 hours away. And it's like always what's in season. So it's really nice. Like we just had, what did we just have? Radishes and snap peas are in season now. Asparagus was first. It's like every week you're getting a whole bunch of the new vegetables that are in season. Like yesterday I went and sunflowers were everywhere. It's like they just arrived. It's so much fun. It's like, what's going to be next week? The peonies are now they're over, but 3 weeks ago it was the farmer's market was loaded with peonies and it's like $3 for a bunch, it's fun. So that's my first stop. And I know you had a farmer's market. What's up with yours now? Is it still going on or no?
Yeah, no, it's not going on. The next town, 2 towns over, opened up kind of a bigger one, but it's it's in the mall. Not that that should matter, but it's like a big outdoor mall. And then they close like the streets between the stores. They have like bands. I think there's only actually 2 farmers with vegetables. Everything else is like sunglasses and hot dogs, and I don't know. It's just more of like a fair as opposed to a farmer's market. But it wasn't enough there to go. It's like, oh, let's all get all fresh vegetables, and you go and there's one table. It's like, man, this is like disappointing. But yours is awesome.
I know.
I stock up when I'm at yours.
Yeah. And there's that Green City Market. Have you been to that one in Lincoln Park in the city?
No, I've heard of it. I've never been.
We should meet there. We could do a little video from there. We should meet there one Saturday. It's on Wednesday and Saturdays. And it's awesome. I mean, they have a lot more food vendors, there. It's like a lot of that, not selling like you just said, but it's a lot of like they have donuts and fresh coffees and treats, all this stuff, Ours is more definitely items to purchase. But that Green City Market is fun. And it's all produce too, like tons of stuff. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Well, we're up for it.
But I'm just encouraging people to find one, get all your produce there. So that's what I like to do. I like to I definitely don't get all of it there because, I run out of lettuce and then run into the store. But I try to get as much as I can as far as that goes there. And then what I do is I do shop at Whole Foods. I know that could be a little bit pricier, but what I like about Whole Foods is they have all the kind of like the plant-based ingredients. And I know the store, I know where they are, like coconut aminos, liquid aminos, vegan Worcestershire, tapioca flour, things like that. You just get to know your own store. Like Phil probably doesn't shop at Whole Foods all the time, but I know you shop at Pete's because you can get soy curls there, or your own little stores. So that's what I do. I do shop at Whole Foods for all of those type of things. And then there's another store really close to me called Valley, and I can get like really good deals on beans and canned tomatoes and dried beans and lentils and things like that. So I don't really want to buy those at Whole Foods because I'll probably be paying double for that stuff. And it's the same stuff. So that's what I do. What do you do?
I mean, there are things that I used to get at Whole Foods that I just don't get. And so like, I don't eat a lot of peanut butter anymore just because we don't have like fresh ground. They do have organic, like fresh ground there, but you're buying it in a jar. It didn't really taste as good, but it's like, am I going to drive 30 minutes to Whole Foods to get a thing of peanut butter? Like, nah, I'll go without a few things. And then other stuff I've learned just to buy online, so like nutritional yeast at the time, like when I started this, neither of my markets had it except for in the little shaker. And I didn't want, that shaker would be gone in a week, so I buy a lot of stuff in bulk just through Amazon or directly through companies, places where I can buy the products direct. So I typically just go to either Pete's, and then I either stop at Jewel or we have a couple of like, and it's mostly just produce. So it's like, oh, if there's something I just can't get, I'm looking for something specific. Like I was going to make something with like fresh green chilies, and it's like, they don't have them at Pete's, they don't have them at Jewel. So I went to Brookhaven, they don't have them at Brookhaven. I drive over to the produce place. It's like, here they are. You can get them here. But I also don't want to, then I'm thinking like, do I want to use a product that maybe no one can find?
Although we do want to introduce new things because that's fun, when they're not that hard to find. It's like new flavors, new spices. I mean, that's kind of part of this. We love doing that, and I love when I am introduced to new things, and it's like that black salt just adds sort of like that eggy flavor. It's the sulfur taste, and you really pick that up, so that's kind of fun. And if you order it on Amazon, then you have a bag that will last a whole year. So I love that. Or just like dulse, we add the dulse flakes to our Caesar dressing. It just adds a really nice little bit of a fishy flavor. but it's
And
just seaweed.
when you buy things like that, it just kind of opens the doors to make different stuff. It's like, I don't just buy a spice, use it once, and then throw it in the back of the cabinet saying, well, I'll probably never use this again unless I make that specific dish. I say, what else can I, this tastes like this, like that egg. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, I forget what we originally, oh, it's for the scrambles, like the tofu scrambles. Then I'm thinking like, if I put this in, make an egg salad out of it, if I, whatever that is, like take that flavor and like do more with it. Just don't just put it away and forget about it.
Right. The first time, it might be a little frustrating. If you're new to eating this way, you may not know where to find miso or tahini. You may never have cooked with those. Now they're so familiar to us because we cook with them all the time. And like I said, once you find them, you know where to go. I remember when mom was making one of our recipes, she like called one of us and said, I've been to 4 stores. Where do you find miso? And to me, it's just like, really? Like I could find that anywhere. But she lives in Florida. She shops at one store, Publix. I think they did wind up having it. Did they? I don't remember, but
they didn't, because when I
they
was
didn't
there,
have
I
it.
looked. But as we left Publix, literally right across the street, there was an Asian market. I'm like, I'm sure they have it. We went in, they had like a huge thing, like you buy a block of it. So I was just like, get it right here.
Yes.
But again, it was one more stop. But
And again, with miso, like we have that in our cream of broccoli soup. So you buy a tub of it. We're not, it's not like you're always going to have to be making all these stops at 42 different stores and stop at the Asian store, stop at the spice house. That's what we don't want to do. That miso lasts forever too. So you make that one stop, you make the cream of broccoli, and then it's in your fridge for like a year, or however long that stuff lasts. It lasts a long time. But we are using this stuff over and over, like tahini and aminos and things like that, tapioca flour for our cheeses. So you just get used to having these in your rotation. You know how long they're going to last you. You know where to go to get them. It's just like anything else. I mean, I'm sure those of you who are new to eating this way already shop that way for your favorite foods. You go here for this one, what aisles, you kind of know your routine, what you're going to do. I remember when we were little, my mom used to have a list. And every Saturday she'd go grocery shopping and she had it down. She had her coupons. She knew what cost what was on sale. Like she had her, I never shop like that. I don't have it that planned out, but I definitely know exactly where to go for what I need. I just have it down now. But Phil, not so much the first time I sent him on a wild goose chase.
well, before I get into that, just don't assume that your store doesn't have it. Miso, yeah, I don't think we have that. And sometimes things aren't where you think they may be. It's like, oh, let me look in the Asian section for miso because that's Asian, and that typically that's where it would be. No, it's in the, like in my store, it's in the refrigerated section in the produce area. So it's not where I would have thought. And if I just went and looked, it's like, okay, they don't have it. It's like I'm not even going to ask because I can see they don't have it. So sometimes things are kind of hidden, especially some of those things like even like nutritional yeast. That's not in the right off the bat of like, oh, that would probably be in baking. The other yeast is there. And it's like, we have a whole Bob's Red Mill section where they have their own bag of, nutritional yeast. So you have to kind of just keep that in mind. I would always ask if you're looking for something, because I've torn apart stores trying to find stuff. And then I just asked, and they're like, oh yeah, it's right here. And it's just like, I would have never thought that's where it was. Yeah, it would be in the store. So.
I mean, I have no fear of asking because I just can't stand, like I just said, on a wild goose hunt for one thing. We have a second Whole Foods in Evanston, and that one I don't know at all. It's a smaller one, and it's actually closer to my house. I'd rather travel farther for the big one where I know everything is. If I go to that little one, sometimes I just can't remember where is the nutritional yeast. I feel like that store is just set up in places to confuse me. I'm like, why is it on the bottom row, way at the end by the peanut butter? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Right. Well, tahini there. Yeah. Like I looked, and they're like, oh yeah, that's right. And I think it was by the peanut butter. It's like it's by the peanut butter on the bottom shelf in the middle of the peanut butter aisle.
I think that's what I even meant, because that's where they put tahini, the bottom shelf right by the peanut butter, way back. And then if the first couple are missing, you can't even see it. It's like way in the back.
Yeah. And then there's other things like tahini in one of my stores. They have it there, and they have it in like the international section and the kind of the Middle Eastern section. Yeah. So it's a different brand and it's different price. It's usually a little less expensive too. So sometimes there's more than one in the store. But yeah, I mean, I've shopped. I mean, my whole life, I'm the cook of the family. My wife doesn't like to cook. She doesn't like to eat much, but she certainly doesn't like to cook. But so I do all the grocery shopping, and I'm very familiar, going to the stores and all that. So the first time I was never really a Whole Food shopper. It just seemed like, that's an expensive place. There's no reason for me to travel 30 extra minutes to spend more money. Now I get, again, I get why they have products there that they just don't carry in our stores. And there's, always going to be something that I might have to go for. But I'm very familiar with shopping. I have no problems. I have no problem asking. So like Judi was saying, the first time I had gone, she had given me the list when I started to do my own little, customized 28-day Kickstart. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was in Whole Foods. I was circling. I was getting angry. Like I was just super frustrated. I couldn't find anything. Everything seemed like it was new. There was just products like tahini, like tamari, like nutritional yeast that were just never even on my radar. And it was all just so foreign. And I think me going into it, I wouldn't say I had a bad attitude, but it's like, I don't know what any of this stuff is. I don't know going in. It's like, I'm not familiar with Whole Foods and I don't know what these products are. Like, tahini, what aisle would I even start at? Like, I'm like, so my mindset was like, well, just start at the beginning of the store, kind of familiarize yourself with the list and just start looking as you go. Just like after aisle 3, it's like, I don't have a damn thing in my cart.
I was so happy you took that video. So we have a video up on our site of him right during this experience, and it's on the blog. And he went through this. I mean, I gave him a list. He was going to start on Monday. I did this makeshift Kickstart. I sent him to Whole Foods because I knew he could get everything there. I don't know where he shops. And imagine not even knowing what these things are. Like he said, you don't even know what aisle they're in. And I just said, buy all this stuff. I'm like Ezekiel bread and tahini and nutritional yeast and tamari. He's like, what the heck? And it's funny because I think you left with nothing, right?
I did. I just walked out. I said, I'll have to come back. And I said, I need to bring my daughter.
Got it all on tape.
She'll find everything.
It's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
So just think about that. If you're new to this way of eating, try not to have that experience. But like I said, you're going to learn. Now he's a pro at it. Of course, he knows where to go. He knows now he doesn't even have to go to Whole Foods because he knows where he can get everything that he needs. And the first time it might be a little pricier because you don't have any of these things in your fridge or your pantry. Like a bottle of tamari might cost you $7, $6 or $7, but you'll have that and you'll use it for the next 2-3 months, and you just need to stock up on some of the stuff. And spices can be pricey too. If you're not used to cooking with certain spices, I mean, for the most part, we cook with all the basics, but you want like a nicely stocked spice cabinet. You want to get all the basics down that we've just been mentioning because we cook with these products over and over. And once you learn how to cook this way, then you'll see that this is what I'm using. I'm not buying meat anymore, at least not for you. If your family is still eating meat, so, some of our family still eats meat and dairy. We don't, but we're cutting way down on that. We're not buying as much of that, if at all. We're not buying processed foods anymore. We're not buying a lot of chips and, all that stuff. So you're saving right there. If you think about that, and you're putting it into healthy things that are going to help your health. So we like to think of that as an investment in your health. I do. Because I do spend a lot of money at the grocery store, but we don't eat out at restaurants. I mean, once in a while we do. In fact, I was planning on pizza night on Friday. I had everything because I just have it. I just have everything. I always have veggies. I always have frozen pizza crusts. We make our own sauce. So that's what I planned. And then Frank came home and he's like, hey, they opened a Salvo's pizza right around the corner. You want to go check it out? And of course, I'm like, yeah, sure, you're cooking for me.
I had everything but the energy.
Oh my gosh, so true. And Fridays that's our early day. Phil and I do our meal plan on Fridays. So we were up early that day. It was a full day already. And by the time he gets home from work, it's like 6:00. And he suggested that. I'm like, hey, I'll change clothes. Let's go out. Plus, we haven't been eating in restaurants for the last few years much. And we just prefer not to because I want to eat our food, for the most part. But we had so much fun, I have to say. First of all, it's a brand new pizza place. They had this cauliflower cream. It said vegan cauliflower cream that you could get on your pizza. And then you build your own, and it's like a pizza oven. So it's that really good pizza oven crust. We asked if it was vegan. They said, yeah, there's nothing in it. There's no eggs in it or anything. And we asked about the sauce, and we just got a ton of veggies and roasted vegetable or roasted eggplant. This pizza was gigantic and it was so good. And then we got the cauliflower cream, the vegan cauliflower cream on the side, because I didn't know if I was going to like that, but it was good. We were dunking our crust into it and we just had so much fun. But anyway, We don't do that a lot. So it wasn't even that expensive. It was like a $30 meal. But, you know, if you're not eating in restaurants all the time, you're saving right there. That's my whole point. All right. So let's get into the grocery store. So wherever you shop, wherever you buy your produce, that's where you're going to spend the most of your time is in the produce section because we're buying fruits and vegetables. That's what we make our food out of. So that's where you're going to spend most of your time. And when you walk into that produce section, just think about what you're looking at. You're looking at lots of color. And all those colors are all the vitamins and nutrients that you're going to be getting from those veggies. So we want to eat the rainbow. And it just makes sense if you think about it, like carrots, red peppers, oranges, apples, leafy greens, purple grapes. They all contain phytochemicals or phytonutrients. And phyto means plant. So plant nutrients. And that's what gives them these great colors. So it's like you just feel so good when you see like a beautiful salad with all these different colors. And I do anyway. When I'm eating these things, I'm like, look at my plate. I'm eating the rainbow. And I know that I'm eating all these phytochemicals because that's what's keeping me healthy. That's what it is, the vitamins and minerals in the color. And so these phytochemicals, I'm going to read them here because I'm not exactly sure how this one's pronounced, but it's anthocyanins. That's a phytochemical in red, purple, and blue fruits. So like blueberries, blackberries, and cherries. The color is the phytochemical, the plant chemical. Beta carotene, I know most of you probably heard of that one. That's what makes carrots orange and sweet potatoes orange. That's the plant vitamin. Lutein is the yellow in foods like corn, bananas, and yellow squash. And then lycopene, that's what is the one that makes tomatoes red and even watermelon and guava. So I just want you to keep that in mind when you're shopping. If you like red peppers, if you like yellow peppers, just mix it up. Eat the rainbow, mix all the different colors up because they're each giving you different things. And what they do is they keep our immune systems healthy. They reduce inflammation and they actually reduce cholesterol and reduce risks of certain cancers.
And when we go, I mean, I typically, spend most of my time there. And it is, what I am noticing is my cart is pretty much full with vegetables. And then I supplement with different stuff. Hey, I need tamari, I need tahini. I would say it's like, I would say maybe 80 to 90% vegetables from the produce section, and then just kind of a few different things. And I do shop a little differently just because we cook different stuff throughout the week. So a lot of times I'll be at the grocery store 4 times a week. So I buy kind of small batch stuff. But in checkout, I kind of keep an eye on what other people are buying. Like I'm just standing there waiting to check out. And it's just crazy, like just the volume of it's like 90% processed food, and they'll have like a head of lettuce and some carrots, or I think of tomatoes or mushrooms. And it's just like, man, you're just consuming way too much processed kind of garbage. There's Twinkies and there's, packaged breads and like just boxes of stuff and frozen things and packages of meat and just all that stuff, or cheese. Sometimes I'll just see like crazy volumes of like weird, I wouldn't say weird, but just random stuff. It's like they have like 10 bags of shredded cheese. And it's like, holy cow, 10 bags of shredded cheese. Like, how are you consuming that much stuff? I don't want to judge people. I just find it interesting to what people are consuming. It'd be very interesting to be like the checkout person, just watching what people eat kind of on a regular basis. Because the lady said, she was the other day when I was checking out, and I don't even know why she said it. She said something. She's like, "Oh, you're here almost every day." I'm just like, she notices I come into the store every day.
She knows what you're buying.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do that too. And you can't help it. I know what you mean. You don't want to judge.
No.
But like if you go back and listen to episode 2, we talk about the standard American diet, you realize why we have all these health problems. It's the food. Most Americans anyway are eating mostly highly processed food. It's sad. The plant food is like 6% of what they're eating. That's it. So I'm not surprised to hear that. When you see these carts full of shredded cheese and meat and processed food and donuts and milk and all this stuff, and then you see a head of iceberg lettuce and maybe some baby carrots. That's it. That's how it's going. We're here to change all that. For the 3% of people who eat this way, we're trying to raise that number a little bit.
The other thing, not to get off topic, but the other thing that kind of grosses me out is like at both of our places, they have like just that hot food buffet. And oh man, I can't even look at that thing anymore. I don't know. It's just all like thick salads and, heavy gravies and like it just seems like just a lot of heavy food. And then I'm thinking it looks like a lot of waste. Like who's eating all this stuff? And a daily basis where at the end of the day, where's that going? Like, are they just throwing the stuff out because nobody buys it? Or, I mean, people are buying it. There's always people in line scooping, containers of glop, and there's things. I'm just like, oh, it just kind of turns my stomach. But I don't know, that's just another thing at the store that just kind of, I'd say it bothers me, but man, I always notice it when I'm like walking towards the checkout. It's like, oh, people like grazing on that buffet line, like scooping things out.
Yeah, we have one too at Whole Foods. They have a whole section of that, sheet pans of mac and cheese,
Right, yeah.
all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh,
Just
I know.
sits there, sitting there all day. There's like
Under
two
the hot
scoops going.
lights. And then there's all those roasted chicken bags. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow. And then they also at our Whole Foods, they also have this whole section where you can go up and buy slices of pizza and calzones. And it's just, when you really start to open your eyes on what's going on and how convenient we're making it to eat so terribly. I mean, it's pepperoni pizza sitting under the hot lights. When you're walking through and you're hungry, I mean, if you eat that, that's going to look good to you. Like, yeah, it's so easy and I'm hungry. I'll just pick up a slice. I'll pick up a roasted chicken. I mean, it's right there. Boom, 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 bombarding you everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't eat it. It doesn't look good to me anymore. But if you do, I'm sure it does look good.
I get you.
Walk right by that stuff. Just stick to the sections that you go in for and just pass that stuff up, because they are trying to pull you in and draw you in, and just walk by it.
It's not about health,
No.
it's about convenience and making the sale.
It's not about health.
Hey everyone, it's Phil. I just wanted to take a quick break in the discussion to remind everyone that SmartyPlants has 2 great meal plans to offer. The first is our 28-day kickstart, which is for people who are curious about a plant-based diet but really don't know where to begin. It's also for people who have health or weight issues and need some help getting healthy. Our program includes 28 days of carefully planned recipes that are simple to make and super tasty. Things like Caesar salad, nachos, and pizza. It also includes meal prep instructions, a grocery list, and daily lessons on things like stocking a plant-based kitchen, weight loss, and navigating social situations. You'll come out of it a plant-based rock star. If this sounds good to you, you should become one of our Kickstarters. Our second program is our weekly meal plan. This is for people who have the plant-based basics down, but they want trusted and trusted delicious recipes each week. Our members receive at least 3 new recipes each week created by our very own SmartyPlants team. Things like pesto lasagna, crunch wraps, French onion, grilled cheese, sauces, mains, sides, desserts, and more. Our meal planners have access to our full recipe database, our meal planner where they can customize their meals each week and create a grocery list, meal prep instructions, and great support, of course. Stop downloading random recipes from strangers on the internet and check out our tested and delicious recipes. If this sounds good to you, let us do the heavy lifting for you and become one of our weekly meal planners. For more info, check out our website, SmartyPlants.org, and use the discount code PODCAST2022. That's PODCAST 2022. You'll receive 50% off our 28-day kickstart or 50% off our weekly meal plan for up to 3 months. Now back to the show.
Let's talk about packaging. You may not even realize that you're being marketed to every time you pick up a package. But speaking of trying to sell you something, this is a business and they're trying to sell you the product. And so we don't want to portray them as being evil or trying to like really trick us, but it's tricky because it's legal and they can do this. So these packaging buzzwords, let's call them, are on the front of a package. So think about a package good. Now you don't have to worry about this when you're shopping in the produce section because you're buying an apple, you're buying a carrot.
Yellow banana. That sounds intriguing. That's just a description.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. So where you're going to spend most of your time, you don't have to worry about any of this. But we also are going to buy things that are in packages. Like we want to buy whole grain breads. We want to buy corn tortillas. We want to buy tahini. We want to buy all this stuff. So we are shopping in other sections. Just keep this in mind. These buzzwords, they like scream out from the front of the package. So think about holding a package and it says healthy, or it says all natural, low fat. It could say like superfood or heart healthy. That's the buzzword that's going to draw you in. And I fall for it still. I mean, I do, like, especially like I was just on a trip. I'm in a new grocery store. I'm looking for things. It says all natural. I'm like, right away, I'm like, oh, that's the natural section. Healthy. Oh, that's the healthy section. I'm confused. I'm out of my element. That's what the buzzwords are for. They want to pull you right into that product. It's just meant to highlight the good stuff. And granted, there probably is some good stuff in the product, but that's what they're highlighting, just the good stuff. They're not going to highlight the bad stuff. So that good stuff buzzword is meant to distract you from the bad stuff because they want to get you to buy it.
Not only that, what I'm seeing now, just with with this kind of plant-based movement, I see a lot of that. Plant-based, vegan. Again, vegan is one thing where it's telling you if you're a vegan, you can eat this, or if you eat this way, you're not going to get certain things in it. But plant-based, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And they sometimes will include things like dairy and eggs and stuff, because while the product may be plant-based, there could be cheese on it, or there could, they could be mixing other things in there. So my wife, just happened to my wife. She wanted whatever it was the other day, and she's like, oh, plant-based. And she got it and she brought it home. I read the label, and it's milk and eggs in here. And it's just like, oh, it said plant-based.
So now I'm wondering if there is there must be like some kind of mandate where plant-based must be just vague, because we're thinking we're buying one thing, because just like people, like you just said, people use that word to describe how they eat in different ways. Like someone said, oh, I'm plant-based. That means most of my base is plants, but then I eat some meat sometimes.
Right.
But when we say it, we mean like never, like we're plant-based. We don't eat that. Like, it's just, so maybe there is something in packaging where they can use that word. It did just happen to me in Puerto Rico when I was so excited to find a plant-based section of the grocery store that we went to shop at, Econo Market. And there was a whole section. I was super excited. We started loading up on these things. I found Ezekiel muffins, didn't even read the label because I know that brand. And so I was just in that roll. I was rolling like that. And then I saw, oh, it said plant forward meat or whatever it was, meat. It was like some type of lunch meat. My daughter's like, oh, that looks good. Let's buy that. I'm on vacation. Typically, I don't buy that stuff, but I thought I need to have stuff at the house to eat. I was like, yeah, we're on vacation. Let's buy it. We bought some veggie burgers. Anyway, we get home, go to make a sandwich, bought avocado. I was going to use that as the spread. I turned it around then and I read it said plant forward. I turned it around. It had eggs in it. I was like so bummed. I was so ready
Sounds like it's plant backwards.
I was like, what? Plant? I was like, oh my gosh, it says plant forward. And who knows what that means? It means like, yeah, we're thinking in that direction, but we're still using the eggs.
We're thinking about going plant-based.
I was so bummed when I saw that because I had my toast, I had my avocado, and I just happened to turn it around. See, so I'm not perfect. I do read labels like all the time, but I don't know. I was on vacation. I thought I was buying plant-based food. I wasn't. So got to read labels. I guess we should have started by saying that. Read labels. That's kind of what we're talking about today because of all these things. That company put that plant forward for a reason because it's legal to say plant forward.
And I think some people, as this is happening, like there's this kind of this big plant-based movement or vegan movement that's happening. I think people are looking for those buzzwords, like they'll see that and be like, oh, this is healthy. This is good. This is part of what that whole thing's about. Let me buy this. And I think they're also doing it because there's also going to be people that hear about it and want to try. Oh, I heard about these things. I heard about plant-based stuff. I want to try some of that and see what it tastes like, So like that's what they're getting. They're kind of catering to that. Just people seeing those buzzwords and just buying it sight unseen to try it out.
Yeah. So these buzzwords are the words I'm talking about on the very front of the package. So that's what attracts your attention. Like Phil was just saying, you see healthy, you see all natural. It's like, yeah, I want to be healthy. Like, I think we think these subconscious thoughts and we go, to get them because if it works, we're buying it thinking that it's healthy for us. But this stuff could be just as bad as the food that we're avoiding that we think is unhealthy because they could put that on the packaging and, we all fall for it sometimes. Other things that you may see that are buzzwords are, these sound like they're going to be healthy. Multigrain, 7-grain, whole grain, even whole wheat. So on the front of the package, that's what they write in big, let's say purple letters. That is not what you want. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay. So the way we eat is we eat whole grain. We want it to be 100% whole grain. Because if they write whole grain, it has to include a whole grain. So they are being honest. It does have a whole grain. Well, they might have 5 grains. Most of them are refined. But just because there's one whole grain, they can write that on the very front of the package. They're not going to tell you about the 4 other refined grains. So this bread is mostly refined. And they just put in a whole grain. I'm not saying just so they could put it on as a buzzword, but legally they can do that. So the majority of the bread is white refined flour, but there's one whole grain in it. So when you see that whole grain, nice, big and bold on the front of the package, you have to turn it over and you have to read the label, which we're going to get to in a minute. But just because you see whole grain on the buzzword packaging does not mean it's 100% whole grain bread. Same goes for multigrain. Now, this sounds really good for us. I really feel like I fell for this for years. It's like multigrain bread. There's nuts and seeds and multigrains. I thought this is really good. It's packed with these great grains. Nope. It means exactly what they're telling you. More than one grain. Multi just means more than one. What types of grain? Refined. It doesn't matter. They're just saying there's more than one grain.
Sneaky devils.
Sneaky little devils. So the next time you see multigrain, don't just buy it thinking it's healthy with all the packed full of good stuff. Just turn it over and take a look at that label. And if you see the 4 flours listed, you're going to make sure, you have to make sure that each flour has the word whole before it. You'll see it. They probably won't.
Reading the label is key. You have to, you can't just assume.
Well, yeah, because if you flip it over, yeah, maybe there is a chance that it's multi-grain with 4 whole grains. Maybe it is, but I'm just saying you have to make sure, because if that's what you're going for, if you don't care and you're out to just buy some bread, that's up to you. I'm not saying it's really your choice, but if you're going for 100% whole grain, that's what we're going for. That's what all of our food is. That's what you want to look for. So what's important is the 100% part. So if you see on the packaging, the buzzword, and it says 100% whole grain, that's good, because they can't say that without it being true. Do you see the difference? If you just say whole grain, could be 4 refined grains. But if it does say 100% whole grain on the buzzword outside, then it is. Then you could even flip it over and most likely all the grains will be whole. Another sneaky thing, though, to look out for on the outside of the package, if it says 100% whole grain, yes, that definitely means there's 100% whole grains, but there could be other things in the product. So just because you see that doesn't mean it's, they don't have other things in it. And we use this example in the Kickstart, which I like it because Phil and I used to eat wheat thins as kids. Our mom used to buy them all the time. They're tasty little snack crackers. We used to eat Cheez-Its and wheat thins. I just remember that. And this is
the go-to crackers.
And this is a perfect example because I know that box will say that 100% whole grain. So I'm sure mom thought she was buying something healthy for us. Maybe it is a bit healthier for sure. But if you flip that over and read the labels on the wheat thins, yes, they are 100% whole grain flour. They also contain soybean oil, sugar, cornstarch, syrup, salt, fructose, honey, and artificial color. I know it contains all that because I looked and I wrote it all down. And that's what it has in it. Do I want all that stuff now? No. So I'm not going to buy those. I'm going to buy the baked woven wheats that I get at Whole Foods that are one thing, 100% whole wheat. Personally, that's what I want to buy. I don't want the soybean oil, sugar, cornstarch, fructose, honey. That's just another thing. Yeah, it's whole grain on those crackers, but you get all the rest of it comes with it. So basically what we're saying, ignore the package buzzwords. Don't fall for that. Turn it over and read the ingredients list carefully to see exactly what you're getting.
Definitely turned into a label reader for the last 4 years where I never really did before. And I was just plugging along like everyone else. And you typically don't read the labels. You just find what you like. You read the buzzwords, throw it in the cart and be done. So reading labels is key. And even if it says, when things say like, no dairy, I still double check. I don't know. I just don't trust packaging anymore just because of that kind of stuff, because you fall for one thing and then you get it home and then you read the label or someone says something like my daughter is very good at that. She's like, did you read the label on that? You can't eat this. It has, it has milk in it or has eggs in it. So I have the kids reading labels now, at least my daughter, not my son, but yeah, because she also helps cook and helps taste things and all that stuff too. And she tried a dessert the other day, but it's the same thing. She'll like read all the labels of everything she buys to make sure none of that stuff's in there.
She's awesome. She's our little helper. I just told you the story of how I did not read the label on my vacation, but I 99% of the time I do read the labels, unless it's all the products that I'm very familiar with. But if I'm buying something new, I always read the label. Just, and it'll become like second nature to you. Like Phil said, now he just never buys anything for the most part without reading the label. And it'll, you just want to know what you're getting. So just take a quick look at the label, and then and it's just, there's nothing worse than coming home. You already spent money on this and now you can't eat it. That's such a bummer. So like we said, shopping in the produce section, don't have to worry about this at all. But we do buy minimally processed foods like bread, tahini, canned beans, tomatoes, pasta, corn tortillas. So it's really helpful to know what to look for on labels when you're buying them, because there's so many different brands of this stuff. And you could buy one corn tortilla. I know which ones to get now. Mine do have salt. I don't care about that personally. Mine have corn, water, and salt, sea salt. So I buy those. But the one right next door to it contains tons of oil, might have sugar. There's different brands, have all different things. And there's still corn. It's a whole grain, but you're getting all that other stuff, which I don't want. So quick flip over on the corn tortillas and look for what you want in it. So what you want to do is you want to choose foods that have the fewest ingredients as possible. And this just makes sense because a whole food is one ingredient. An apple is an apple. Right? So we want to be as close to that apple as we can get. So if you bought unsweetened applesauce, you flip it over and you read apples. That's what you want. You don't want sugar, fructose, apples. You want apples. So that's, there's two different kinds. You're going to be offered a choice. You can buy the applesauce that's just apples, or you could buy the applesauce that has sugar in it. So that's what we're saying. The fewest ingredients as possible, because then you're closest to a whole food. So when you flip it over and you look at the ingredients list, the ingredients are listed in order of quantity of the product. So if you're holding what you think is let's just say like a granola bar, that sounds healthy, right? You saw the buzzword on the outside of the package. It said healthy, all natural granola bars. So when you flip it over, the ingredients list, now the very first thing that's listed is the highest quantity of what's in that granola bar. The first thing you see is sugar. That means it's mostly made out of sugar. Isn't that interesting? But this is a mandate. It's an FDA mandate. They have to list it this way. So it goes down the list from there. It'll be sugar. Then it might be 100% whole wheat. It might be, but this is your choice then. Or it could be sugar, soybean oil, fructose, artificial color, then the whole grain, or maybe a refined grain. But that's how you know. It's like, do you want to buy something that's mostly sugar? And that's what we want to be looking for, really, is the oil and the sugar in the ingredients list. And we want to avoid them as much as possible. I try not to buy anything with oil or sugar in it. I do buy things with salt in it, but I would say to go for either no salt or low sodium, like beans. That's another sneaky thing that Phil and I fall for. They're starting to put like all these different things in beans now. Like you get or tomatoes. Tomatoes mostly is what I meant. Like they put
a lot of different
basil
products.
and garlic and tomatoes. Yeah. I don't want basil in my tomatoes. I want to add my own basil because maybe I'm using tomatoes for salsa. That's happened to us. It's like I fell for it.
It drives me crazy because and if you don't cut corners to have them put stuff in, because you don't know what types of products they're putting in. Like, I don't know where they get their basil, or I don't know how much basil they're putting in those things. Right. In the end, buy the basil, buy the regular, but same thing. You have to look at the can because we've all done it where we get home and it's like, oh, this has peppers and onions in it already. Like, I don't want this now. Like, I thought it was just canned tomatoes.
I know that is frustrating, but they do add this stuff a lot. And it's not like basil and peppers are bad for you or anything, but like Phil said, you don't know how much. You may want it for something different. I don't want the basil flavor in my tomatoes. I'm making chili. I don't know. So it's really important. I make that mistake still. If I'm rushing and I think I know I'm just buying tomatoes, I already saw it says low salt or no salt. I miss that line of says basil. It's just because I'm rushing, or I just thought I knew what I was buying and I didn't. So there could be a lot of hidden ingredients in these things. Another word that always sounded to me like it could be good for us is the word enriched. Like they've tossed this word around like they're enriching like that. Doesn't that sound like when something's enriched, it's enticing to me. It sounds, ooh, they're making it better. Nope. Because what they do is first they strip it. Like if it's an enriched bread, first they take the whole 100% whole grain and they strip it of the bran and the germ, which they're refining it to make it light and fluffy and white. So they're taking out all the good stuff. They're taking out all the nutrients. So now what they want to do is they want to add the vitamins back in. That's the enriched part. So they're messing with it. They're not giving you a whole grain. They're taking it all out. And then what they're doing is they're putting back in synthetic vitamins, which if you don't know what you're eating or you don't know what this process means, you think you're getting something good or enhanced. You're not. It's synthetic vitamins, and scientists actually create these vitamins. So I'm going to use this example of a carrot. Like we already talked about earlier, the beta carotene in the carrot is what makes it orange. That's the vitamin A. That's what makes carrots orange. So we want to get that from carrots. Let's say we took the vitamin A out of a carrot and we put it straight into this white refined flour that they just took all the good stuff out of, right? What would happen? The bread would turn orange because beta carotene is orange. That's what natural vitamins are. They're colorful. That's what we see in all of our vegetables. So if we took that out, put it in the bread, we'd be eating orange bread. Nobody wants orange bread. So scientists found a way to create these synthetic vitamins that are not orange. And so they're just made in a lab. And they're just unnatural vitamins. And we just don't want that. Now they could add that enriched label, enriched with vitamins. These are the ones that the scientists created. We want to get our vitamins the natural way. So let's talk about the nutrition labels. So when you flip it over, we've been talking about the ingredients list. So there's the ingredients list is one thing, but then there's that big nutrition label. We all know what it looks like. It's on the back. What most people look at right away is the calories, and they want you to look at the calories because they make it big and bold. It's always in bold. You flip it over and you think, how many calories are in this? It'll say like 230 calories. I think most people probably know this already, but let's just go over it because if you don't know it, this is really, you need to know this. If you see the big bold 230 on this packaged, what should we say? Like breakfast sandwich, let's just say, it looks like this thing that you're holding is 230 calories because it's big and bold and staring you in the face. But that 230 calories is the amount per serving. So what you need to do is you have to look at the serving size. Now, again, this is all an FDA mandate. They have to put this stuff and it has to be right. So it'll say in smaller type, the serving size, which would be like, let's just say a quarter of this thing that you're holding, this breakfast sandwich thingy that I just made up. The serving size is a quarter of it. So what's 230 times 4? Dang it, I should have done the math. I'm not good at math.
870.
Okay,
No.
8, thank you.
No,
So really, if you eat this whole...
No, 920. Yeah, 920. Sorry.
Okay, 920. So if you eat the entire thing, it's 920 calories because it's only a quarter of it. A quarter of it is 230. So that's where the tricky part comes in. If you didn't know this, you could just pick it up and think the entire thing is 230 calories. No, that's times 4 because the serving size is a quarter.
And it really doesn't. Sometimes it's like, how can a quarter of a sandwich be a serving? You know, a lot of times it doesn't even make sense. You know, it'll be like,
right,
3 crackers or something like that. It's like, who's eating 3 crackers? 20 fit in my hand. Like that's the serving, and it's like, well, I just had 9 servings of this. This thing.
Right, and that's what you have to add up exactly. And some things are really tricky. Just keep that in mind. Look at that serving size and do the quick math in your head and you'll know, whoa, what I'm really getting is 8 times this. Okay, so what we try to do is stay away from fat and oil, but some things you might want to buy that have, some oil in it. Okay, so fat is 9 calories per gram. So if you look at the total fat grams, this is a little bit confusing and I'm going to try to do it slowly so you kind of get it. So if you flip over that nutrition label, you'll see total fat per serving. That's another bold part of the nutrition label. So if you want to go grab one and look at it right now, just go grab one. If it's easier to kind of keep track of this, pause it for a second so you can kind of visualize what I'm talking about. So every label has the total fat per serving. So fat is 9 calories per gram. So you multiply that total fat per serving by 9. Because what we want to figure out is how much fat is in this thing I'm eating. So I'm going to use a Big Mac because we use this in the Kickstart, and a Big Mac is just I can wrap my brain around this concept if you think about it, because there's a lot of fat in Big Macs. Okay. So if there's 590 calories in a Big Mac, if a Big Mac came with the label, it would say amount per serving, 1 burger. Okay. So 590 calories, that one burger It's not double that. It's the whole burger is 590 calories. Now it'll say the fat grams per serving for one burger is 34 grams of fat per serving. So what percentage of this Big Mac is fat? You times 34 by 9, right? So then you get 306 calories. 9 is the calories per fat gram. So 306 calories out of 590 calories, it's more than half of the burger is fat. That's just a lot of fat. Like, I don't want to be eating all that fat. First of all, we're not going to be eating Big Macs. Maybe that's not a good example. I think it is a good example, though, because my brain can wrap around that. If you think about 306 of those 590 calories, it's more than half fat. That's a lot of fat. So you don't have to worry about any of this if you're buying things that don't have any oil in them. But if you are, just try to keep it under 10% fat. That's just a quick math. 9 is the number you just have to keep in mind because fat is 9 calories per gram. So whatever the total fat is, times that by 9, look at the total calories, and you'll be able to quickly gauge what percentage of fat is in a product. So we talked about reading the labels, and that's pretty much all you need to know. But now when you're going through the other aisles, this is where you're going to have to start reading the labels. So let's talk about the other aisles. So there's the cereal aisle. You can definitely buy packaged cereal. The ones that I want you to choose are 100% whole grain, either no sugar or very low sugar. So you know how to read the label now. So go to the cereal aisle. If you want to have quick cereal on hand, I like grape nuts. That's just a 100% whole grain. Ezekiel has the 4x9 cereals. Whenever you see the Ezekiel products, you know that there's not going to be oil and it's going to be all good stuff. So that's a quick go-to for me. And there's lots of different choices.
Yeah, they got a few selections there. Raisin and, the almond.
And then Engine 2 is another great brand. We've talked about the Engine 2 brand in a previous episode. You always can count on Engine 2 to not have any oils, any artificial ingredients, nothing but whole ingredients. So those are the ones. I don't buy much cereal. Do you?
I usually just have a box on hand in case I get into a jam, or some days I have just a hankering for cereal, just that crunchy, refreshing cereal. But I don't buy a lot for sure. The kids don't eat it, so I just usually just have a box on hand.
Yeah, and then there's always old-fashioned rolled oats because you can eat those. You can have our overnight oats. You can have quick cold oats, which is my favorite way. They're already lightly steamed. You can just throw them in a bowl with some plant milk. Those are usually in the cereal aisle, I think, aren't they? Yeah, they are. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then the next aisle would be the bread aisle. Again, choose 100% whole grain bread, either low sugar or no sugar. I like the sprouted grain bread. Ezekiel, again, I get the sprouted grain bread and tortillas. Those are usually in the refrigerated section or in the freezer section.
Yeah, mine are in both. I've seen them in and actually I've seen the Ezekiel just on the regular shelf because my wife's like, I thought this had to be frozen because it's always in the freezer section, but I think it's just to preserve the longevity of it.
Yeah. And I do keep mine in the freezer, but no, you can keep it in the fridge. But yeah, because it's sprouted grains. Exactly. So I think you could either find that in the fridge or the refrigerated section or the freezer section. Some other brands that are good, Dave's Killer Bread and Squirrely Bread. Some of those do have sugar, but some of them don't. So they have lots of different types of bread. Like they have a sesame bread that we buy. They have like multi-seed bread. But if you start reading the labels, you'll definitely know what's in the bread. So that's what you can pick up in that aisle. And then back to the refrigerated section. This is where you'll find things like we talked about, like the tofu and the miso and that sort of stuff. I get the corn tortillas there. I get the Food for Life sprouted corn tortillas. You could get these plant-based meat alternatives if you want, like fake and bacon. They have the Gimme Lean sausage there. They have, that Upton's chorizo sausage and yes. Upton's Italian sausage. Yeah.
That's popping up. That popped up. And now they have like a big selection. And actually there's a couple of different brands now I see that are, very similar to that have now popped up. The sections are getting bigger.
They are
supplying more products. Yeah.
If you notice that the non-dairy milk, which we're about to get to now, that's huge at my store.
Yeah, ours too. It's a third of what used to be all regular milk. Now a third of it is all plant-based milk. A whole section of that 3-pronged dairy display is plant-based milk.
So you have so many choices when it comes to plant-based milk. There's soy, there's almond, there's oat, there's rice, there's cashew. just experiment with different ones. I typically like soy. I know you like almond. Oat milk's really nice and creamy for coffee.
Because again, even some of those milks have more stuff in them, so.
That's a good point. A lot of those plant milks do have other things, artificial ingredients, and some of them even have oil. So you have to really read them and, get the unsweetened.
That's something that just people, balk at. Oh, it's not regular milk. I don't like the taste of it. I got to say, since I've been drinking that, like I don't see the difference anymore. I mean, I don't know. I get the same kind of satisfaction out of that than I always did with milk, And I wasn't a huge milk drinker, but when you want it or you need it, I don't know. Now the kids are kind of the same way. Like they were so standoffish with it at first, and now it's like, they'll use the plant milks now.
Well, because your taste buds change, and the further you get away from that dairy milk, now you're years away from it. Yeah, you don't miss it, and you're used to this now, and it just becomes what you want. It's not even just being used to it. It's like your taste buds acclimated and they changed, and now you want that. You don't want that dairy milk anymore. Okay, so the next aisle is the whole grains aisle. It usually has rice, dried beans, legumes, lentils. There's so many whole grains to choose from, and Phil and I are cooking with these in our meal plan a lot. Like, we're trying different things. There's barley, there's bulgur, there's farro, millet, quinoa, spelt, teff. For whole grain rice, you can get brown short grain rice, you could get brown basmati rice, black rice, brown jasmine rice, wild rice. All these are in the same aisle. The dried beans and legumes, you can get bags of dried black beans, lentils, garbanzo beans, green split peas, kidney beans, pinto beans. One of my favorites, red lentils. I love red lentils. We make a killer red lentil soup. I love yellow split peas. We make dals with that. Stock up on these. Down in my grocery store, right down from those are the canned beans, tomatoes, and vegetables. We kind of already talked about this. Look for low sodium or no salt. And then there's tons of different beans in the can you can get. So no salt, low sodium, black beans, cannellini beans, garbanzo beans, navy beans, pinto beans. You could even get refried beans, although we make a killer one from dried beans. I can't go back to these cans, but in a pinch, you could definitely get refried beans with no oil. Just look for the no oil. It's just beans. And then here's where you get all the canned tomatoes. Crushed, diced, fire roasted tomato sauce, tomato paste, whole tomatoes. Again, low or no salt. Again, look for those hidden ingredients like basil and peppers. If you just want the tomato. And then as far as the canned vegetables go, we grew up on canned vegetables. I mean, Mom made a lot of fresh vegetables too, but we always had green beans and those little wax beans in the can. We had mushrooms in the can, canned corn. We had what is it called? Creamy corn? Creamed corn. Creamed corn. I forgot what it's even called. Yeah. I mean, I did love that creamed corn, but God knows what's in it. What is the cream in the creamed corn?
I don't want to know.
What is the cream in the creamed corn? What is the cream in the creamed corn? Ew.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. I don't know. I don't want to know. We
I
ate it
don't know,
for years.
and I don't want to know.
So I would stick to fresh or frozen veggies. Those canned vegetables usually have a lot of salt. And think about it. Those vegetables have been soaking in that salt for months. I don't want that. Plus, they just don't taste good. They don't taste as good. Get your palate used to fresh vegetables.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things that I don't buy a ton of canned stuff. There are some things I buy in the can just so it's more of a convenience to have them here. Like you said, like refried beans with no oil. Yeah, typically I'll make them, but right, in a pinch, I have them on hand. I will have them. But a lot of those, green beans, I don't think I've had canned green beans probably in 30 years. Like, I don't think I've ever, like fresh, like there's nothing compares, like to having fresh green beans as opposed to a can of green beans.
And here's where you'll also find pasta sauces. Now, that's just another thing. If you want to buy a pre-made pasta sauce, like a red sauce, you can, but make sure you read the label, because a lot of those pasta sauces come with lots of oil and lots of sugar. There's certain ones that you can get just tomatoes, which is, I know Whole Foods makes one and Trader Joe's make a no oil, no sugar version. So read the label. If you want to have one of those on hand just to make a quick pasta sauce, you can, but just know that a lot of those have oil and sugar. So read the labels. And also, here's where you get the veggie broth. Always choose no oil and low sodium if you can. And those vary in taste. Phill makes his own because I've had that issue before. Because if you don't know the brand and you just pick a random brand, it could not taste very good. It happened to me. Whatever I was making, I think it was a soup. It just ruined it. It just tasted like dishwater. It did. It was just tasted bad. It's like, why did I do this? I bought an off-brand.
Of course, it was dishwater soup you were eating, but still.
That's true. Dang it. Must have been all that dishwater I added. Okay. And then we come to the pasta aisle. Choose 100% whole grain pasta. Skip the white refined pasta. There's lots to choose from now. I am a big fan of brown rice pasta. I haven't had chickpea pasta. My daughter, I have some here. She said we have to try it. We love it. She loves it. So I'm going to try that one. There's chickpea, there's lentil. I love corn and quinoa blend. I think it's actually corn, quinoa, and brown rice blend. It's Ancient Harvest brand. It just comes out really light and fluffy. I just like that one. And you can get all sorts of pasta shapes. You could get spaghetti. You could get rigatoni, macaroni. Lasagna. Managoni. Lasagna sheets even. You could get shells. You could get everything. Rotini, the little corkscrews. You could get bow ties, farfalle. And then we come to the international section, and this is where you get brown rice noodles. If we're making our peanut noodles or pad thai, you can get chipotle peppers here, coconut aminos, all the coconut milk for our curries and soups. Liquid aminos, you could get all the dried seaweed here, like nori, maybe even dulse flakes, salsa, sriracha. I can never say that. Sriracha. This does have a little bit of sugar. I do buy this one. I know Phill buys it because sriracha has like a certain taste that is just really good. So here and there, I use a little bit of it.
In my local store, they have their own set of spices as well outside of the regular spice aisle. So always check to see, just so it's on your radar. And sometimes like turmeric, like I could buy a big thing of turmeric way less expensive than even the spice aisle next door, the next aisle over. So just kind of be aware of what might be in some of those international aisles where it might, like the date syrup. I get the date syrup in the international aisle. It's not by the other syrups or anything. Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of the spice aisle, that's next. Be creative. Pick up some new spices to try. If you're part of our meal plan, you know that we're introducing them, like we said, nothing too crazy, but just, try things you have. Maybe you've never made our Italian sausage crumbles and you never used fennel seeds before. Well, the fennel seeds are in the spice aisle, and it's just the really key ingredient to make it really taste like sausage that we love. So we love those crumbles. That might be new to you. So pick up some fennel seeds, try our sausage. Just like dried basil, cumin, we use all the time in all of our Mexican dishes. Like every day we use granulated onion and garlic, oregano, parsley, paprika. Smoked paprika is huge in our cooking. It makes everything smoky. We like to make a lot of things smoky. Rosemary, sage, and sesame seeds. We love toasting sesame seeds, throwing them on Asian dishes. Really nice little garnish. It looks pretty, tastes good. Like Phill said, turmeric, but you can also buy some of this stuff in bulk. And I used to be intimidated by this because it just seemed like a lot of work and I didn't know how much I needed and what am I going to put it in? But if you give it a try, like things like nutritional yeast, you could save so much money if you buy that in bulk and just get a storage system. I bought a bunch of glass containers. I have them in my pantry and I fill up on these things. I like to buy dried beans, legumes like lentils, quinoa, nutritional yeast, rice, brown rice, nuts. I like to buy those in bulk because I can just get a better deal, especially those darn cashews. They're expensive and we use them all the time. So if you buy them in bulk, store them in glass in your pantry, it's just more economical.
Yep.
Give it a try. So don't be afraid of the bulk section. The next section is the condiment section, and this is where you get all your vinegars. Any type of vinegar is great. Balsamic, white balsamic's a little bit sweet. Apple cider vinegar, which is, I think it might be my absolute favorite, which is really good for your gut. I love the taste of it. Red wine vinegar, rice vinegar, that's probably also in the Asian section. Mustards of any kind are good. Usually they don't have oil, but again, just look. Hot sauces are here. I like Cholula. That's a good one with no oil. Here's where you could probably get maple syrup, 100% pure maple syrup, just one thing in it, maple syrup. Capers, black olives, artichoke hearts, hearts of palm. They're all usually in water. So those are all good to stock up on here. And here's where you can get the vegan Worcestershire sauce. Look for the word vegan on the label because Worcestershire usually has fish sauce in it, but I can find the vegan pretty easily.
Yeah, they never had it in my store, and then they started carrying it. But the one they carry has a lot of stuff in it, though. There's like not a lot of not great stuff in it. I always order that Amy's, I think it's called. I ordered on Amazon, and I get it now in like a 3-pack because not that I burn through it so much, but like it's like, all right, those bottles are kind of small. You only use a tablespoon here and there, but I'll buy a 3-pack and just put 2 in storage and just use them when I need. But my local store carries one, but it has it has a bunch of preservatives in it, but no fish. It is vegan, but I was just like, the Amy's has 4 or 5 things in it. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's good that you found one.
Yeah.
And then there's the baking aisle, which usually has all the flours, whole grain flour like cornmeal, oat, rye. We use white whole wheat and whole wheat flour and whole wheat pastry flour. So there's lots of different flours. And then there's these other plant flours that we cook with, like arrowroot and tapioca flour. And these might be new to you, but you'll see them in our recipes because they're like thickening agents. So we'll use it to thicken our cheese sauces or our gravies or our sauces. So those two particularly. And then there's almond flour, which we love because we make our almond parm out of that. You may not have ever bought or thought about almond flour, but it's really flavorful. It adds a nice oily element, like almost like a cheese. So we make our almond parm from that. Pick up some of that.
I just made some cookies out of that the other day.
That sounds good. The frozen section. Here's where you get frozen fruits, berries, and vegetables. And these are always great to have on hand. I just love having my freezer stocked well. I like to have blueberries. I like those dark sweet cherries. I like mangoes. Any fruit you want, peaches, pineapples, raspberries, snack on those fruits. It's so great to pull them out, just having them there. And then vegetables, you can buy any of the frozen vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, edamame, in the shell, out of the shell, okra, spinach, corn, fire roasted corn. It's so great to have them in your freezer ready to go. I make bowls, especially I go through bags and bags of broccoli. First of all, I just zap it in the microwave and eat broccoli for breakfast. I know it sounds weird, but I got used to it and I like it. I like it with just lemon on it. I make bowls out of it for lunch. I put, whatever spicy sauce I have in the fridge left over from the meal plan, I put it on top of broccoli. And the other great thing is grains. There's frozen grains that you can buy or freeze yourself, but you can buy the brown rice or quinoa already made, already frozen. And if you have a bunch of veggies and the rice and quinoa in your freezer, it's instant meal. Just heat it up and ready to go. Have one of our sauces or a cheese sauce, salsa, some guacamole.
And I was going to just throw this out before I forgot as we're talking, but like the other day, once you kind of get the concepts of these, so like we were talking about miso earlier, and when you have that on hand, it was like there was, again, I run out of time too. I don't prep for every meal. We eat a lot because of the meal plans and things like that. So sometimes I get caught, but it's like, okay, I have a bag of frozen rice. I have some green onions in the fridge. I have some cilantro in the fridge. I have miso. So I'm going to take a little scoop of miso. I'm going to take a little tamari. I pour a little splash of orange juice, a little maple syrup, and just make up a quick little sauce, throw it in a pan, and I have like a rice stir fry with some vegetables in it that I wasn't going to have 10 minutes ago. And now here it is. I'm having a hot meal. So
that sounds delicious.
Yeah, just having those, or I had some grated ginger and some garlic. So and the sauce was really good. And again, you're just kind of throwing it together, just making it easy, give it a little taste, it's like, perfect. And just throw it all in a pan, quick, great meal. But you're using those things that you have on hand, like the miso. It's like people that are unfamiliar with miso. It's like, oh, I used it for this one recipe, and then what am I going to use the rest of this for? I throw miso into some soups instead of salt. I throw miso into the stir fries. I use it now that I know that flavor is so good. It's like, and it has like that salty element as well. Like I'll use that to flavor other things and have it on hand to use.
And then once you get used to cooking this way, or you get more familiar with making some of our recipes or any plant-based recipes, you will be able to do what Phil just did. That's not a recipe. I do the same thing with, I like coconut aminos because they're a little bit sweet and they're salty. So I just zap the broccoli in the microwave, zap the quinoa probably at the same time. And then I just like sprinkle my coconut aminos right over it. I also like that sambal oelek. It's like the red chili paste. It's really hot. There's no oil in it. It's just red chilies. So I take a scoop of that and I just put that on top. And then I chop up some scallions, throw that in, chop up some peanuts, throw that in. And that's it. That's a meal and it's delicious. And, it's just you learn how to use different things like that from cooking this way. The more you cook this way, you'll be able to do things like that without following a recipe per se, if you want a quick lunch.
And that's it's awesome just with with our private group, just seeing people do that. It's like, oh, I just used this. I had that sauce. I threw that on. It's just fun to see like, wow, you made a great dish. It's like, oh, this was awesome. I just threw it together. It's like, yeah, they're putting it into practice, that the concepts are, get put into practice there. And it's just fun to see, people, successful at just like, I'm not a cook and look what I made. It's like, man, that looks good.
I love seeing that. I know. And using our components to make new things. It's so cool. It's exactly what you're learning. You have a sauce down. Like Mary just the other day, she said her husband loves that smoky cheddar, which is fairly new. I don't know. That's maybe like 6 months ago we released that one. And now she's making, putting it on potatoes, putting it on her own nachos. Right. They like that. They're just doing their own thing. And you have that in your back pocket. Now you could create a whole bunch of things out of that one smoky cheese sauce. So that's what we're talking about. That sounds so good. I want that Asian bowl now. I'm getting hungry. And then there's convenience foods. Sometimes it's nice to have these around. Like Phil was saying with the refried beans, it's really nice to have certain things just really quickly to have, go to. If we love our favorite hummus, which we call our hummus. Mm-hmm. We love it, but maybe you don't have time to always make it. Engine 2 makes a hummus that has no oil. So maybe you want to pick up a container of Engine 2 hummus. Engine 2 also makes crackers and crisp bread that have no oil, just whole grains. They make bean dips. I'm just talking about this brand because I happen to know that there's no oil or additives. So if you want to pick up some bean dip and hummus, have it in your fridge, just have a go-to, pick up some of their crackers, make a quick snack. We get it. There's healthy, quote unquote, convenience foods as well. Dr. McDougall is a big plant-based doctor. He has a line of soups. I mean, to me, they're not the tastiest soups in the world, but in a pinch, if you want to have, they come in these little cardboard packages. You could have it in your cupboard, have a couple of soups in there. You add hot water and you have soup. There's no oil. There's no other ingredients in it. So you can have a few of those in your cupboard if you want. I like buying, I talked about them earlier, the baked woven wheat crackers. They're just 100% whole wheat and and maybe some salt, but they're really just good. If I'm making a big salad, I like a little crunch with my salad. So I don't necessarily want to make our crackers, which we do have a cracker on our site, but I don't necessarily have time for that all the time. So I just want to have couple of crackers with my salad. So I buy those. Popcorn is one of my favorite snacks. Popcorn is a whole grain. We are never without popcorn. I air pop it. I put aminos on it, nutritional yeast. And that's a really quick snack. You can make that in 10 minutes. We always have popcorn around. Nuts are another thing, nuts and dried fruit. Here's another thing that you have to read the packaging. These 3 things, nuts, seeds, and dried fruit, they're all high in calories. They could be really good for you, but you have to know that some of them come with added oil and sugar, especially that dried fruit. You could get just mangoes, or you could get mangoes with soybean oil and tons of sugar. So read the label. I mean, I like to have almonds around, peanuts, just raw, raw nuts, cashews, walnuts. We're always cooking with cashews. We're cooking with a lot of walnuts. I like to have pine nuts around for pesto. Seeds, just to throw in salads. I like to have flax seeds around, hemp seeds, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, chia seeds. They're all good. You can find them all in the bulk section or just the regular section with the nuts and seeds. Nut butters, peanut butter. I like to grind my own. Phil stopped eating it apparently.
Occasionally. I mean, if we're driving by, well, my wife will pick it up more than me. And then we'll have it on hand for a while. I mean, I try not to have too much peanut butter, and I can do without it. If I have to. It's not like I have to have peanut butter in the house, but
we do. We have to have it. Frank probably eats it 6 days out of 7 on his toast. And I probably eat it 2 days. Ours is just peanuts because we grind it ourselves. If you can find that, that'd be great. If not, try to look for, the fewest amount of ingredients, hopefully no sugar, hopefully low oil.
There are some peanut butters that I see. It's just ground peanuts. Like you can buy it in the jar now. I just don't think I bought it a couple times, like a couple different brands, and it's just not as good to me. So it's like, and it is more expensive. You're buying a $6 little thing of peanut butter, and it's just not as good. So it's like, nah, I'll just wait while we go by there and get the real McCoy.
The other thing is tahini. Get your tahini there. That's usually, we talked about that. It's on the lowest shelf, hidden way in the back by the nut butters, but that's where you find your tahini. All right. So now you should be all set to hit your grocery store. Come back and listen to this episode if you need more pointers on anything. Just read the labels. Don't fall for the buzzwords. Go for low oil. Go for low salt. If you are buying ingredients with oil, try to get that percentage down to 10% or lower. Spend most of your time in the produce section. Avoid all that stuff that's screaming at you, the pepperoni pizza, the roasted chickens, all the sugary desserts that they have everywhere. Just put your blinders on, focus on these sections that we just talked about, and start making some of our delicious plant food with these ingredients. You'll never want to go back after you start making some of this delicious food.
Happy shopping.
Happy shopping. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and don't forget to subscribe to our podcast because it really helps us out, and we're really having fun doing this, and we want to keep doing it. So please just click on that little button that says, what does it say, Phil?
Subscribe or follow.
Follow or
Depends
subscribe.
Depending on where you get your podcast.
All right. Well, happy 4th, everybody. Go out there and be safe and have a lot of fun, and we will see you next week.
Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.